Good afternoon and welcome members of the press to the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission press conference. My name is Edward Woods III and I'm the executive director, and I'm joined by Douglas J. Clark Jr., who is the MICRC commissioner and also the chairperson. As we shared in the announcement of the email today, that we're here to provide an update regarding the commissioner's inquiry. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to our chairperson, Commissioner Clark.
Good morning. At our last meeting, we had one of our commissioners request a review of our code of conduct related to the employment of another commissioner. And so when we got that request, we placed it on the agenda for our July 20th meeting. We also received an email request from another commissioner to address how we ensure our core values of integrity, respect, transparency, and being purposeful are handled in the commission. So those two are currently on the agenda, those two items, and additional will be added if necessary or requested. We add anything that's requested to the agenda by a commissioner onto the agenda. And we ensure we'll have full transparency of the commission as we move forward with those subjects. We have begun to do some work on the original request, which was the review of the code of conduct. And because it related to a specific commissioner and where they're currently working. Our objective is to be fair to each of commissioners, fair to those that are bringing forward the contention of this and want the discussion, and fair to the commissioner who, as you all know, is Anthony Eade. We want to be fair to his point of view as well. So that was important to us. We want to ensure we get the facts, and we've started to do that. We're not completed with that. So we've got a number of facts, and then we need to continue with a few other people, that being difficult because of the holiday week. During this next meeting, each commissioner will be able to communicate their opinions on the subject. And my expectations is that they'll be truthful, forthright, and nothing will be secondhand. It'll be pure facts where they understand where the facts come from and where they obtain them at. So we do ensure full transparency throughout the meeting. So each commissioner will have the opportunity to speak if they choose. And at that point, the facts will be brought out for that. So that's the game plan. Like I mentioned, we're currently still getting facts. We've got a couple more folks to talk to. And we should have that wrapped up by the end of next week. And then, of course, the July 20th meeting is the following week. So I see that we have one question, Edward.
Yes, I just want to remind the public that those of you have access. We provided the email that provided an update to the commission, as well as an interview that took place on WWJ. All right, seeing that we have a hand from Claire Hendrickson from the Detroit Free Press. Claire, please ask your question.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It's good to see you all. I am just curious, as part of this process, if you all are planning on getting some sort of legal review from attorneys for the commission regarding the constitutionality or the constitutional requirements regarding employment of commissioners and like what they can do and can't do when it comes to jobs outside of serving on the commission. Thanks.
You want me to handle that, Edward?
I'm sure I can follow up after you.
Yes, we are in the process of doing that. We have a local attorney firm that we deal with, and we have a legal liaison who's one of our commissioners, and he's dealing with the local firm on that matter. And so, does that adequately answer your question, Claire?
Yeah, and are you talking about Fink Bresic?
Correct.
Correct. Frank Bresic is going to be a part of that. And the reason why we want to do a legal review is to make sure that we're consistent in dealing with any and all inquiries, not specifically just with this one, but having a consistent process.
Yes.
And so there will be a legal review with them. We've been in contact with them with regards to that, this particular incident, but making sure that it's consistent with all inquiries. I see we have a hand from Beth LeBlanc from Detroit News. Beth, please.
Hey, yeah, thank you for taking this question. Do you mind clarifying when your next meeting is? And then also, when you refer to the code of conduct that you'll be reviewing, is that like a code of conduct that the commission developed, like the current members, or is it like based on constitutional language? I'm just trying to understand like which measure you'll be using for this.
Okay, the answer to your first question is July 20th is our next scheduled meeting, which is in about 2 weeks. The code of conduct was developed by the commission. That's the one that we use. It's currently out on the website, so you could review it yourself. And I believe there's 7 or 8 items on the code of conduct.
Right. So if you go to the commission website and click on meetings and information, you'll see the code of conduct. Well, first and foremost, the commission will look at it from the Constitution standpoint. In addition to the Constitution, we're looking at our rules of procedure, which is also available on the website, and then as well as the code of conduct and conflict of interest in terms of making sure that there's not an issue with any of them. But first and foremost will be the legislation. After the legislation will be the commission's rule and procedure, and then the code of conduct and the conflict of interest as well.
Just a quick follow-up on that, if you're okay with it. If something is allowed for under the constitutional language, but isn't allowed for under the code of conduct, like, is that enforceable in terms of like taking action or, you know, preventing that hire or anything like that? And then another follow-up question is, Mr. Clark, I was wondering if you could kind of describe from your point of view what Michigan Voices, their involvement was during the map making process.
To my knowledge, Michigan Voices had no involvement unless they participated in one of the local hearings and got up and spoke. And I believe, only captured the people's names and not what were they represented or who they represented. So let me mention this one item about Michigan Voices. They are not a lobbying firm. According to the investigation that we've done, and we worked with the disclosure and compliance section, the filing disclosure and compliance division of the Bureau of Elections, and we were directed to them through the Department of State. They are not a registered lobbyist in Michigan or elsewhere that we know of. They also formerly went by the name Michigan Voice, and we got the same results when we investigated that as well. So they're not a registered lobbyist firm, so we won't look at them as such.
Just so we're clear, they had no undue influence with regards to elections, but they were a part of the organizations, Beth, that we reached out to and that we recognized in April of last year, or I should say April of 2021. No, is that right? No, April of 2022, I'm sorry, in Detroit, as one of the 40 community-based organizations that we reached out to have a diverse and inclusive engagement across the state with regards to public participation or public comments with regards to drawing maps. So they were involved in that. They were recognized by the commission as it relates for that back in the April meeting. And I believe they were instrumental in putting together or constructing a couple of town halls, but they had no direct preferential influence on behalf of toward the commission. but they were instrumental in recruiting the groups and individuals to be a part of participating in the engagement process of helping the commission to draw fair maps with citizen input.
Yeah, just I understand the distinction that's being drawn in terms of them not being a registered lobbyist. I get that. But on their website, they say, quote, on multiple occasions, the MICRC changed course and edited their maps in real time, directly impacted by our partners' public comments. So I guess that kind of, I mean, yeah, they're not registered, but that seems like, you know, the common use of the word lobby to get someone to change their mind or to change maps that influence Michigan elections in this case.
You would have to really ask them for that statement because we did not sign off on that statement, endorse that statement, authorize that statement, nor did we write it and put it on their website. So that would be a question for them.
And they have a list of, I don't know, 40 or 50 different firms that they deal with. And they may have dealt with multiple ones, and who knows how they dealt with them. You, like Edward said, you'd have to speak to them about it. Did we get all your questions, Beth?
Sorry, I'm sorry if I'm monopolizing this, but the one question is if there aren't constitutional protections that would prevent against this, is the code of conduct, does it carry enough authority that it would be able to prevent like a hire like this, or it would be able to, like, I don't know, in some way censure a hire like this?
And that's part of our legal review, Beth, with regards to that. And we'll have that answer on July 20th. Beth, any follow-up? I'm sorry, I don't want to move to Claire.
No, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you,
Claire?
Beth.
Hey, thanks again. So I'm reading the rules of procedure for the commission, and under the conflicts of interest section, it says the commission shall adopt a policy regarding disclosure of conflicts of interest. I'm scrolling through all the just sort of meeting materials and archives, and I haven't found anything regarding a disclosure of conflict of interest policy. Does that exist? And if it does, where is it? Thanks.
Thanks. We will make sure, Claire, that we post that. If it's not, assuming it's not posted, I will do a review. And if you don't have it, we'll provide it so the public can access it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the press before we take questions from the public that are in the chat? All right.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Colin.
If I could just jump in real quick. I guess in terms of the practicality of it with the current lawsuit and everything, obviously the commission would prefer not to have to redraw its maps, but have the conversations gotten far enough along with this where, I guess, what have discussions about what would Commissioner Eads' place be in the process going forward in context of the lawsuit, or if the commission was to have to go back and redo any of its work?
Those are all hypotheticals, Colin, that will be discussed, when we have the open meeting on the 20th. So we would have to really wait to see what happens there. All right. Carrie H has a question that comes in the chat from the YouTube. Will Anthony Eads' new position at a progressive organization allow us to redraw the maps to correct the cracking of Detroit? Could we now have to redraw to allow Black representation?
Yeah, I'll answer that. We feel that the maps that we drew adequately are fair to the entire state, including the community of Detroit. And we have no intention of redrawing any of the maps at this time.
All right, Anna Sebold, for those of us who are not on the commission, please clarify why this has come up as clearly as possible. What is the specific issue around Commissioner Eads?
The issue around Commissioner Eads is the firm that he is working for. Some people felt that it was a lobbyist firm. Others felt that they were too progressive in their views. the employment of Mr. E just recently took place. It did not take place while we were doing our maps at all. I don't, as far as I know, he did not have any association with that firm at that point in time.
Right. The next question is, EAT is now getting paid by a progressive group that has been advocating for better maps for progressives and Detroit, and that is from Carrie H. I think that was just more or less a statement than a question. Aaron Wagner, Commissioner Aaron Wagner, I would like to know why we have chosen to go this route as opposed to honoring my court request for a special meeting in advance of the 20th of July to discuss this as a commission in front of the public.
We've decided to go this route as a request from another commissioner. What we want to do is to get all the facts before we get into any discussion on this matter. And we felt it only fair to Anthony Eade and as well as the other commissioners who may or may not have been able to attend today. And that fact gathering time, it takes us a period of time to do. And we felt that was appropriate. And then we had to get a special meeting, we had to give, like, I believe it was 14 days notice to be able to schedule it, which runs us very close to the actual date of the next meeting. And we felt that given the time we needed to gather additional facts and talk to the attorneys and the additional cost associated with a special meeting, that it provided us no benefit at this point in time.
All right. Commissioner Eade shared that he did not have any contact in any form with Michigan Voice outside of our public meeting during the redistricting process. He did not have any relationship with them prior to applying for his new position, which he applied for over a year and a half after maps were voted into law. That's a comment or a statement from Commissioner Eade.
Okay, let me comment on that. If Commissioner Eade could bring that up on our July 20th meeting, it would be more appropriate, I believe, to do it then. And so that the commissioners can, all of the commissioners can get that as one of the facts in this contentious
Just wanted to share that with the public.
Yeah.
So we're hoping this lays the groundwork for a random to better reflect. That's really not a question. CM3 is not a question. Has Eade associated with progressives in the past? Has it been discussed by the commission? We just know that from his statement that he hasn't done it with Michigan Voices. Does this invalidate his independent status? The answer is no. If Eade can stay on, can other groups pay other commissioners? That has not been determined as to where that is. That would require speculation. New beginnings. Have you discussed this with commissioners outside of an open meeting? If how do we know there's true transparency? I think Commissioner Clark already shared that open meeting is happening on July 20th as we gather the facts and share them openly to the public. So that's all the questions that we answers that we have with regards to the chat, with regards to that as well. And I think with regards to the special meetings, our rules and procedures state that you can ask for, any commissioner can request a special meeting during the regular meeting. That did not take place. There was just an inquiry with regards to the employment of Commissioner Eade, and that was placed on the agenda as requested. Or it can be called by the chairperson, the vice chairperson, or the executive director. And not one of those individuals had elected to call a special meeting. And with regards to the special meeting, there is a notice provision with regards to that, but that hasn't been called, as Commissioner Clark has shared earlier. And just, want to reiterate that there will be a full, open, and transparent discussion, but facts are still being collected with regards to this inquiry. I want to thank the members of the press as well as the members of the public who have engaged in this press conference to provide an update with regards to the inquiry to Commissioner E's employment. We thank you for your interest, and once again, we will get posted the conflict of interest on the website and make it available to the public so that they can see that as well. Thanks again for your time and have a good evening.